They didn't ban Mount Ararat because they found nothing. They banned it because something buried there interferes with equipment, makes people sick, and shouldn't exist at all. The search for Noah's Ark didn't uncover proof of the Bible. It uncovered something far worse.
In the modern world, myths do not simply disappear. They wait. They wait beneath the ground, beneath ice, beneath silence, until something violent enough exposes them. In 1959, that violence came in the form of earthquakes. 3 major seismic events ripped through the Turkish highlands, reshaping the land around Mount Ararat, a mountain already burdened with legend. The Turkish government ordered an aerial survey of the damaged region, not to search for mysteries, but to measure destruction. The task fell to a quiet, methodical army officer in the mapping division. His name was Captain İlhan Durupinar. What he found was not destruction. It was a shape. While reviewing reconnaissance photographs taken by the Turkish Air Force, Durupinar noticed something that did not belong. At first glance, it appeared geological, a scar left by mudslides and shifting earth. But the more he studied the image, the more the shape resisted explanation. It was symmetrical, elongated, curved at both ends. It did not sprawl randomly like erosion. It rested deliberately in the terrain, as if placed there. The outline matched something humanity had been searching for centuries. A vessel, a ship, a form disturbingly similar to the biblical description of Noah's Ark. This was not on the summit of Mount Ararat itself, where explorers had failed repeatedly. This formation lay nearby in the foothills, a place no one had seriously considered. And suddenly, a troubling question emerged. What if the Ark had never been meant to be found at the peak? What if generations of searchers had been climbing the wrong mountain, blinded by literal interpretation rather than geographic truth? The Bible never says the Ark landed on the peak of Ararat. It says it came to rest on the mountains of Ararat, plural. In that distinction, a centuries-old mystery cracked open. To understand why this discovery mattered, you have to understand the weight of the story itself. According to Genesis, humanity before the flood had fallen into complete corruption. Violence filled the earth. Every thought of the human heart was only evil continually. God chose to erase the world with water, all of it, sparing only one man, Noah. He was instructed to build an ark of exact dimensions, 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, 30 cubits high, coated inside and out with pitch, built not in secrecy, but in full view of a mocking world. When the flood came, everything that breathed died. Mountains disappeared beneath the water. The ark floated for 150 days before finally coming to rest. Genesis tells us that when the waters receded, the ark settled on the mountains of Ararat. From that moment, the world began again. 8 survivors, 1 family, a covenant sealed with a rainbow. According to Scripture, every civilization, every nation, every person alive today traces their lineage back to that single event. If the Ark existed, if it still exists, then it is not just a relic. It is the hinge point of human history, proof that the world ended once before. But Captain Durupinar's photograph suggested something unsettling. If this was the Ark, then it hadn't been preserved in glory or placed where it could be easily found. It was buried, crushed, embedded into the earth as if the mountain itself had swallowed it. This was not a monument. It was a grave, and that raised a question few were prepared to ask. If God wanted humanity to remember the flood, why hide its most powerful evidence? Durupinar reported the anomaly through official channels. The image was analyzed, quietly. Experts labeled it a natural formation, a coincidence shaped by erosion and mud flow. The case was closed on paper, but the photograph refused to disappear. Copies circulated. researchers noticed something else. The dimensions of the formation were nearly identical to the biblical measurements of the Ark when converted from cubits to feet. The odds of nature accidentally producing that level of proportional accuracy were uncomfortable. Not impossible, just uncomfortable. And so the mystery began, not with believers seeking proof, but with officials trying to move on. Because from the moment that photograph surfaced, Mount Ararat was no longer just a mountain. It became a problem, a place where scripture, science, and something far older collided. And if this really was the Ark, then the question was no longer whether the Bible was true. The question was what else survived the flood, and whether humanity was ever meant to uncover it.
Welcome to Origin Paradox. Once the Dupinar photograph entered public awareness, the search for Noah's Ark changed forever. No longer was it a matter of faith or folklore. It became a question of evidence. In the decades that followed, explorers, geologists, and independent researchers began arriving at the site, many of them skeptical, some of them hopeful, all of them convinced that if this formation was natural, it would reveal itself quickly. But the mountain did not cooperate. In the 1970s, American researcher Ron Wyatt became the most persistent figure connected to the Dupinar site. Unlike earlier explorers, Wyatt didn't rely on sight alone. He brought equipment, metal detectors, ground-penetrating radar, sonar, tools designed to see beneath the surface. What his instruments detected troubled him immediately. Beneath the soil, running the length of the boat-shaped formation, were linear patterns, parallel, evenly spaced rib-like structures that followed the curvature of the hull. These were not random. They repeated with mechanical consistency. Even more disturbing were the readings themselves. Wyatt reported unusually high concentrations of metal aligned along these internal structures, not scattered, not diffused, organized, as if something metallic had once been embedded there by design. To Wyatt, the explanation was obvious. These were the remains of fasteners, iron or steel supports that had once held a massive vessel together. But that conclusion created a new problem. According to conventional archaeology, ironworking should not have existed in Noah's time, yet here it was, buried where no iron should be. Mainstream archaeologists dismissed Wyatt's claims. They argued that Mount Ararat is volcanic, rich in iron-bearing minerals. Natural magnetite deposits, they said, can produce readings that mimic man-made structures. Ground-penetrating radar, when misinterpreted, can turn geology into illusion. On paper, the explanations made sense. But then the reports began to shift from data to experience. Expedition members started describing physical effects that were never included in official summaries. Intense headaches, sudden dizziness, a feeling of pressure in the chest. Some said the ground beneath their feet vibrated faintly, as though something massive and rigid lay buried below, responding to their presence. Equipment malfunctioned without warning, batteries drained rapidly, compasses spun out of control. Instruments behaved as if exposed to strong electromagnetic interference. One marine salvager, David Fazold, initially supported Wyatt's conclusions and documented the site extensively. He believed the formation was the Ark, but later he withdrew his support, not because he concluded it was natural, but because he admitted he no longer understood what they were dealing with. In interviews, he described the site as something that resisted classification, something that didn't behave like stone, wood, or metal alone. Then there were the locals. Villagers living near Mount Ararat had avoided the formation long before outsiders arrived. They called the area Gemeler, the boats. Livestock refused to graze nearby. Shepherds reported strange lights hovering above the site at night. Elders warned that the mountain was not dead, that it listened, that it remembered. These stories were easy to dismiss until researchers began experiencing the same unease. As attention increased, so did restriction. Permits that had once been granted were delayed, then denied. By the 1980s, Mount Ararat was quietly designated a military-controlled zone. Officially, the reason was border security.
The mountain sits near Iran and Armenia in a geopolitically sensitive region. Unofficially, the timing raised eyebrows. The restrictions intensified precisely as discoveries became troubling. Excavation was never allowed. No trenches, no core samples, no exposure of what lay beneath the soil. The site was fenced, access was monitored, research stalled, and the message was clear. Whatever this was, it was not to be touched, not by amateurs, not by professionals, not by anyone. If the Dupinat Formation was nothing more than rock, then there was no reason to seal the mountain. But if it wasn't, if something artificial, something ancient, something unstable lay buried there, then restricting access wasn't about protecting history, it was about preventing something from being uncovered. And that forced a far more disturbing question into the open. What if the Ark wasn't just a witness to the end of the world? What if it was part of the reason the world had to end at all?
To understand why Mount Ararat remains restricted, you have to look beyond the Ark itself and into the world that existed before it. The Bible describes that world in only a few verses, but other ancient texts are far less restrained. The Book of Enoch speaks of the Watchers, beings who descended to earth and taught humanity forbidden knowledge, metallurgy, weapon-making, astronomy, secrets that altered human civilization too quickly, too dangerously. According to these texts, the flood was not simply punishment, it was containment. Genesis hints at this as well. It speaks of the Nephilim, beings born of an unnatural union, described as heroes of old, men of renown. Whatever they were, their existence suggests the pre-flood world was not primitive, it was advanced, structured, capable of building something as massive and precise as the Ark itself. A vessel designed not just to survive water, but to preserve life, knowledge, and order through total planetary collapse. If that is true, then the Ark was more than wood and pitch. It may have been engineered with techniques we no longer possess. The metal traces detected beneath the Dupinat Formation, the electromagnetic interference, the organized internal structure, these do not belong to simple Bronze Age craftsmanship. They point to a civilization that understood materials, energy, and environment in ways later cultures only partially remembered. After the flood, humanity did not start from zero. Civilizations appeared suddenly, already fluent in mathematics, astronomy, and architecture. The Sumerians, the Egyptians, sites like Göbekli Tepe, built before agriculture should have existed. These were not inventions from nothing, they were reconstructions, fragments of memory from a world that had already mastered these skills once before. If Noah carried knowledge forward, selectively, deliberately, then the Ark was a vault as much as a lifeboat, and vaults are sealed for a reason. Opening them without understanding what they contain can be dangerous. That may explain the physical reactions reported by researchers, the interference, the illness, the equipment failures. Not curses, not miracles, side effects of encountering something dormant, something not meant to be handled casually. Perhaps the Ark was never hidden to protect humanity from the truth of the flood. Perhaps it was hidden to protect humanity from what survived it. And if that knowledge, that technology, that power is still buried beneath Mount Ararat, then disturbing it may not bring faith or enlightenment, it may bring repetition. Because if the flood was meant to erase a world that advanced too far, too fast, then the real warning of Noah's Ark is not behind us, it is ahead. And the question is no longer whether the Ark exists, but whether humanity is ready to uncover what ended the world the first time.